All right, Class 10 students, listen up. If you're gearing up for your board exams, you are in exactly the right place. We are jumping right into Chapter 10 of your NCERT science textbook, The Human Eye and the Colorful World. We're going to cover everything you absolutely have to know to nail this section.
I mean, just think about that for a second. How can something so tiny give us a view of the entire universe? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the incredible physics that's packed inside our own eyes, and how those very same principles are responsible for all the color we see in the world, from the way your eye works to why the sky is the way it is.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 5 key areas straight out of your textbook. We'll start with the eye itself, then move on to common vision problems, unlock the secrets of a prism, check out nature's amazing light show, and finally, answer that age-old question, why is the sky blue? Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, your incredible eye. The best way to think about the human eye is, well, it's like this super advanced organic camera. It's an amazing natural instrument that uses light to let us see everything around us.
This table here breaks down all the heavy hitters. Light comes in through the cornea, then the iris, which is the colored part of your eye, controls the size of the pupil to let just the right amount of light in. Then the lens focuses that light. Now for your exams, here's the part you absolutely have to remember, the retina. It's the screen at the back of your eye where the image forms. And this is super important, that image is real and inverted. The brain flips it right side up for us later.
And get this, all of that incredible complex machinery is squeezed into a tiny ball just about 2.3 centimeters in diameter. It's absolutely mind-boggling when you think about it.
Okay, this next term is a big one, a definite exam favorite, the power of accommodation. This is basically your eye's built-in autofocus. It's all thanks to these tiny things called ciliary muscles that squeeze and relax the lens, changing its shape. That's how you can look down at your book one second and then look up at the board across the room the next, and everything stays perfectly sharp.
But, even this amazing autofocus has its limits. For a normal, healthy eye, that limit is about 25 centimeters. We call this the near point. Anything closer than that, and things start to get fuzzy. You can try it yourself. Hold up your thumb and slowly bring it closer to your eye. See? There's a point where it just goes blurry. That's your near point.
So that leads to a pretty important question. What happens when that autofocus system starts to weaken? Or maybe the eyeball itself is a little off in its shape? Well, that's when we get common vision problems or refractive defects. Let's break down the most common ones and how we fix them.
First on the list, and probably the one a lot of you are familiar with, is myopia. You probably know it as nearsightedness. And just like the name says, you can see things that are near just fine, but things far away get all blurry. The whole problem is that the light is being focused in front of the retina instead of right on it.
Now for the exam, you need to know the why and the how. Why does it happen? 2 main reasons. Either the eyeball is a bit too long, or the lens is too curved, so it's bending the light too much. So, how do we fix it? We need something to spread the light out a bit before it hits our lens. And for that, we use a concave lens. It pushes that focus point backward, right onto the retina where it belongs.
All right, let's flip it around and talk about the opposite problem, hypermetropia, or farsightedness. This time you can see things far away perfectly, but trying to read a book is a real struggle. And you can probably guess why. The image is being focused at a point behind the retina.
Again, cause and correction. Super important. This happens when the eyeball is a little too short or the lens isn't quite powerful enough. Its focal length is too long. So to fix it, we need more focusing power, right? We need to pull that image forward. So we use a lens that converges light, a convex lens. It gives the eye that extra oomph it needs to focus the image correctly on the retina.
And finally, there's a defect that, well, it gets most of us eventually. It's called presbyopia. This isn't really about the eyeball's shape, it's just a part of aging. The ciliary muscles get weaker and the lens itself gets less flexible. This makes it really hard to focus on things up close. That's why you often see older people using bifocal lenses. They've got one part for seeing far away and another part for reading.
Okay, we've spent a lot of time looking inward at the eye. Now let's look outward, at light itself. And let's start with a classic science experiment. What happens when you shine a beam of plain old white light through a triangular glass prism?
It's like a little light magic show. The white light hits the first side of the prism and it bends. That's refraction. But something else happens, something amazing. It doesn't just bend, it splits apart into a whole rainbow of colors. That splitting action has a very important name you need to know: dispersion. In that beautiful band of colors, we call that the spectrum. The easiest way to remember the order of the colors is with the acronym VIBGYOR. Now here's the really critical part. They don't all bend the same amount. Violet light gets bent the most, and red light gets bent the least. That's a super important point. And you know who figured all this out? The one and only Sir Isaac Newton. He did this brilliant experiment. He used one prism to split the white light into a rainbow, and then, and this is the genius part, he put a second prism but upside down right in the path of the rainbow. And what do you think came out the other side? A single beam of white light. It was the ultimate proof that white light isn't pure at all, but is actually a mix of all these different colors.
So that's what happens with a little glass prism. But what if your prism was our entire atmosphere? Turns out our atmosphere acts like a huge funky lens, and it causes some really spectacular effects.
This slide right here explains a question people have wondered about forever. Why do stars twinkle, but planets don't? Well, stars are so unbelievably far away that they're basically just single points of light. As that tiny pinprick of light travels through all the swirling, shifting layers of our atmosphere, it gets bent back and forth, making it look like it's twinkling. Planets, on the other hand, are much, much closer. So to us, they look like tiny disks, not points. The light from all the different parts of that disk also flickers, but it all averages out, so they shine with a steady, constant light.
And check out this mind-blowing fact. This also because of atmospheric refraction. The atmosphere actually bends sunlight around the curve of the Earth. This means we see the sun for about 2 minutes before it technically rises over the horizon, and we can still see it for about 2 minutes after it is actually set. So all told, our atmosphere gives us about 4 extra minutes of daylight every single day. How cool is that?
Okay, for our last big topic, we're going to tackle the ultimate question. Why is the sky blue? To do this, we need to understand a new property of light called scattering.
So the air all around us is filled with gazillions of tiny, tiny particles. When sunlight hits these particles, it gets bounced around in all directions. It gets scattered. But here's the crucial part. Not all colors scatter equally. The tiny particles in the air are way, way better at scattering the short wavelength colors, like blue and violet, than they are at scattering the long wavelength colors, like red.
And that one simple fact explains so much. When you look up during the day, you're seeing all that scattered blue light coming at you from every direction in the sky. And that's why the sky is blue. But at sunset, the sun's light has to travel through way more atmosphere to reach you. By the time it gets to your eyes, most of the blue light has been scattered away. So what's left? The longer wavelengths, the reds and oranges. And that's why sunsets are so fiery and beautiful. This is also why we use red for danger signals. It's the color that scatters the least, so you can see it from farther away, even in fog or smoke. So, we've gone from the tiny lens in our eye all the way to the vastness of the sky. Your NCERT textbook wraps up this chapter with this really powerful thought. Understanding the science behind vision is fascinating, but it also reminds us what an incredible gift sight truly is. And through eye donation, the miracle of vision we've just studied can be passed on, giving someone else the chance to see this colorful world for the very first time. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your exams.